Empower who?
Empower me!
Well, my name is Oriana Sanders, and I was placed in foster care as an infant. I believe I was under the age of 1 years old, and so I spent most of my adult or my teen and my childhood years in foster care. I got adopted at the age of 6, but I went back into custody at the age of 11. So I spent the remainder up until I was 18 um, of my time in foster care.
But you came in under that age of 1. Did anybody try to find your parents, or was that not an option?
Well, my mom, my biological mom, she was addicted to drugs, and I had 8 siblings, and she was just unable to care for us properly. And she was also dealing with some mental illness as well. So we were placed into foster care. We were, they tried not to separate us, my siblings. So me and my brother went to one foster home, and then my other siblings were placed together in a foster home. So they tried to place us together, and then eventually when I turned 6, um, a young woman, she adopted 5 of my mother's kids. Yeah.
Wow. So did did they try to give your mother services, or do you believe that that would have helped keep y'all together at home?
I believe they did offer her services. They gave her a plan to, work through. Um, I believe she was unable to, from my knowledge, complete the plan. So, and this, from what I knew, it was multiple chances that they had given her. But, unfortunately, sometimes mental illness and addiction can cause you to make some harmful decisions.
Mm, yes. And what about your father, your biological father?
So I have a man who signed my birth certificate. I actually had his last name, and his dad helped name me. So this is the only man that I've ever known to be, or who could possibly be, my father. The only reason why I say possibly is because years later I found out that he had taken a DNA test and I wasn't his child. So unfortunately, this is a man who stepped up to care for me when I was younger, but he's deceased as of now. So unfortunately, I do not know who my biological father is.
Wow. And how come they didn't try to did they try relative care? So did,
They did. My aunts they were really young at the time, and I believe one of my aunts had just had her own 2 kids, so they were going through a lot. So it was kind of difficult to take 8 kids in,
yeah.
and it's kind of like, if you can't take one if you don't want to take all, you
Mm.
know. So I believe they felt it was just a good decision at that time to make.
So but they could have offered services for your grandfather at the time, like your on your dad's side, or maybe even the gentleman that you knew to be your father up until you found out the DNA wasn't well that the DNA came through. So they didn't try to get him to take you in.
Um, See, I was able to obtain some of my records, but as you know, when you become adopted, they seal off some of those records. Even though I was placed back into foster care, some of those records are sealed. But from I did see some of my medical records as an infant, and so he was taking me back and forth to doctor's visits and everything like that. But I believe he had an addiction as well, so I believe it could have been possibly hard for him to take care of me too. So
Oh. So you said you came in. So you came in at under 1, and then you went to you said at 6. That's when you came back into foster care.
yep, I was placed into my first foster home, under the age of 1. And I stayed in that one foster home until I was 6 years old. And when I turned 6, I was adopted, yes.
Oh, by that foster home or somebody different?
Someone different. It was a widow. She had 2 children of her own. She was a 2-time widow, and that was just her passion, taking in foster children. And they asked her, did she want to take in the siblings, because she already had both of my sisters and one of my brothers. So she wanted to keep us together, so she took me and my brother in as well.
Oh wow, that's
Mhm.
that was amazing. So what happened? How come you weren't able to stay with?
So in my first foster home, I could talk about this now smiling,
Okay.
but my first foster home, I was abused sexually for about 4 years, up until really probably about a month before I got adopted. So once I got adopted, it was hard for me. At first I didn't realize that what had been happening in my first foster home was wrong. Like I hadn't had that good bad touch talk yet, so I had no idea that what I had went through was wrong. And so when I did find out that it was wrong, I was 9 years old, because I had finally told someone. I hadn't told anyone until I was 9. And when I did open up and tell somebody, I found out it was wrong, and I just started acting out. I became very rebellious. I didn't want to listen. My grades started falling off. I started running away from home, and I ran away one time, and she called the police, and the police advised her to go to the juvenile courthouse and file an unruly child charge against me. So she filed the unruly child charge because she felt like she had exhausted her options. I was just she couldn't handle me. She had put me into boot camp, tried it, tried everything she could, tried to douse me in holy water. She tried everything she could, and it just wasn't working. And so I'm sorry, where was I?
No, you're saying that they tried everything that she could.
Oh, so she filed the unruly child charge, and
Mhm.
I was placed into the state's custody again.
Wow. So they tried to send you to boot camp at 9.
And yeah, 10. My first time going to juvie, I was 11 years old. I was the youngest one in juvie.
So my question is, did they how did your case manager respond to you telling them that you were being sexually abused at your first foster
Now,
home?
at this time when I was younger, case managers didn't come around as much. Like, you rarely saw your case manager, and that's just the honest truth. Um, and so when I told at that time, when you get adopted, the entire family goes to therapy together. You go to family therapy. And so
Mhm.
we were going to family therapy, and she presented it to my therapist. She told, what she had heard to my therapist. And from there, they filed charges, and it was an investigation, and, all that good stuff. And he was eventually convicted.
Okay, good, good. Wow. I and so they they did try did they try to give you therapy to help you work through that, or?
She really did. She tried, you know she did try to give me therapy. I had actually she even tried getting a separate therapist from the regular therapist, just for my particular issue that I was going through. And she tried different things. It's just that I also had a kind of a wall built up because I didn't trust anyone, and I just felt like, well, I'm only going to be here for how long until you get tired of me, and then I'm on to the next family. So you don't really care. So I always like kept a wall up between our relationship.
I I can only imagine. Like I've known a few people that were adopted, and then the person said that we can't deal with you or whatever, and that's very traumatic on two fronts, like on and it's wrong on so many levels. So that's why I'm always hard,
Yeah,
especially when we have to train those parents or people that want to adopt. I'm very hard on them because I need for you to know that this is a lifelong commitment, not until you get tired and say, oh no, I can't deal with this. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
it's not a refund policy.
I hate that with a passion. Like, and so I will try and discourage you from adopting before you decide to come in. I want to adopt this kid, and then once trauma starts presenting itself, now you don't want to deal with it or whatever. That's a no go for me, or what have you. So
And
go ahead.
you know what I think it was for her too was that she had, as much as she probably didn't want to admit it, she went through her own traumatic experience, and that's what made her feel better. I believe foster children, it made her, some people go feed the homeless to make themselves feel better, or things like that. So I think it made her feel better by fostering children.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, she was a two-time widow, so both her children were grown. So all she had was foster children. And I held a vendetta against her for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A long time, because when I was placed back into foster care, I was committed to the state for 2 years. I'm trying not to cry. I said I wasn't going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I was committed to the state for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I was
What?
placed in a lockdown treatment facility, and it was like in the boondocks. And it was like it wasn't jail, but it was a lockdown treatment facility. You couldn't go in or out without the alarm or without a staff member. And you went to school on campus, you ate on campus, you slept on campus, everything was on campus. And I would have my episodes because I felt abandoned. I felt really abandoned. And so I would have episodes like, panic attacks, because while I was there, I was diagnosed at 11 with bipolar and anxiety. So I would have panic attacks and I would like act out. Nobody, like everybody looks at me now and be like, oh, sweet Oriana. Back then, I was like a fireball. Nobody could hear. And it was like I was so young and so small. Nobody expected that amount of rage and anger out of this little bitty girl. And so, I would act out, and, they would actually hold me down and tranquilize me. So it's certain things that happened in that facility that stuck with me, going on. So I held a vendetta for a long time because I always wondered, well, why didn't you come get me? Or why didn't, so I felt like it was a repeating cycle from my biological mom, and here it is again, you know?
Yeah. And so I have a few questions. I'm gonna go back to that. Uh, go back to like when you finally realized that you were being sexually assaulted as a kid, and you started acting out because you didn't know, like you didn't know how to handle that. Is essentially how what would you have done with younger you, like you now, what would you have told younger you in order to help them heal? Like how if I come across a young person who has gone through that, like how do I help them?
Um, Transparency has helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Being honest at the fact that I'm hurt, I'm wounded, and I need to heal. Um, for 3 years, I held that secret in that I had been touched, or, and because it was the foster parent son and I cared so much about the foster parent, I didn't want to hurt anybody, but I realized that when you hold things in, you can become bitter as a result of that, and that's not helping you to heal. So what I've learned is the more transparent you are, the more open you can be to healing, but you have to be honest with yourself about everything. You have to hold others accountable, and you have to hold yourself accountable, because what I've learned is no one else is going to heal for you. They'll offer you all the tools, they'll offer you all the help, but like you have to you have to want to heal, like really heal.
So what could I do as a supporter, or what could your case manager have done, or what could your adoptive mom have done to support you in healing and finding that transparency for yourself?
Um, love me, genuinely love me, not the the play love where you get a smile and a hug just because you're there, but like genuine love, because a child can tell the difference. And then also, I had an anger problem, I had a rage problem, and a lot of youth in foster care today uh deal with that issue. And so what I realized was helped me. I've taken up boxing.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking up boxing, and anybody that knew me, they're probably watching this like, yeah, Oriana, we know. And now, but now I'm able to actually breathe. I'm not just going in the ring swinging like this. I'm actually like, and sometimes if I'm going through something that's very, stressful for me, it helps me a lot. It really does. So what I can say is, when if you are a child in foster care and you just need a encouragement, because sometimes you can't really depend on the and I'm just gonna be honest. You wanted me to talk on the show today, so I'm gonna be real with these kids. Okay.
Yes.
So sometimes you can't even depend on the caseworker or the foster parent. Sometimes they're just not going to do it for you. They're just not going to give you the love, the attention, the care that you need. So sometimes you have to find a coping skill when you're in that room, or in that the multi-living area, whatever. You have to find a coping skill to be able to cope. But you can't hold it in, because it's like you're going tick 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 boom. You see?
Yeah, yeah, definitely be honest. And I also just want to mention, if y'all have any questions, please feel free to type them in, and we'll get to them as we see them. So, so I love martial arts too. I think that was coping for me when I was, it was that and music was coping for me. Like I love martial arts, and I think a lot of it was that physical connection, as well as that energy release.
Mm-hmm.
So that helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to write music as a kid, and write songs, that was therapeutic. And also cooking. I love to cook.
I love food.
I
So if you
still
want
do.
to cook for me, Anthony, that's fine too.
So we are planning on doing a cooking podcast, so to teach some life skills. So I'll be that link should be going out to recruit people. But all right. So you said you was committed, and you was going down to, you was in the sticks, and it was a lockdown facility.
Mm-hmm.
How
Now
old?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. How old were you, and what was that like?
I was 12 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time I had already been to juvie probably about 6 times. So um it was better than being in a cell. Honestly, I was just happy that they had finally got me out of juvie and placed me in a placement. And it wasn't all bad. it wasn't all bad, you know. I did find things that I like to do. Like they taught us about coping skills. That's actually one of the places where I learned coping skills, and I learned things that I like to do. Like I learned that I like to dance. We used to have dancing competitions in the hallway, like real like crumping, not the like real dance competitions and talent shows and things like that. You know, it wasn't all bad. I actually got close with one of the well, a few of the staff members that were there. Even to this day, like I have a special place in my heart for them, because I was a tough cookie to deal with. So kudos.
So you said that lockdown facility that actually helped you.
It did actually. I mean, it helps me now that I think about it. Now that I'm 26, let me be clear, because when I left there, honestly, I went back into the same mindset. You know, nobody cares. Why am I here? Because I went to another group home, and it was nobody cares. Why am I here? This is going to be the same old thing, and I kept running away. So, yeah.
So why? So you said you was in juvie about 6 times before. Why did they take you to juvie? Like what was going on?
Running away. They said I broke. You know, it's when you say you're committed to, when they commit you to the state, it's kind of like violation of probation if you were to run away from group home or anything like that. So if they come looking for you or they put a warrant out for your arrest, they just kept throwing me in juvie. I'm just gonna be honest. They just kept throwing me in juvie. When they couldn't find anything else to do with me, they threw me in juvie.
And why were you running away?
I just half at first it was because I'm gonna be honest and transparent. At first it was because I felt like I wasn't getting the love and the care and the attention that I needed. Then after a while it became I just want to be in the streets. I don't want to be here.
Hmm. And did you have like any friends or any friends' parents that was able to take you in, or was it just the street life? Was it?
It was just the street life. One actually my first time running away, I ran away to a classmate's house and her mom let me stay for a few hours, then she called my mom.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the one time. So after that, I never trusted friends again. Their moms always called the police.
But that's what. Do you understand? That's what they were supposed to do at this point in time.
Yeah. But at that time, they were snitching. They were snitching.
So what was it about the street that made you keep going back to it, like to run away?
Well, Anthony, once I, have been sexually molested, I became promiscuous, very promiscuous, and the love that I wasn't getting from my parents, I craved that in a man. So I would run away to find love. And oh my God, it would be the worst love, Anthony.
So there were. I see your question, Wendy. I'm gonna get to it. So there were. So you was running away, and this is between the ages of 9 and 12, and there were men out there that was taking you in for pretty much rape.
Well, I had got involved in the sex trafficking lifestyle, Anthony. I actually had got involved with a pimp. And so I got into that lifestyle very early. I'm not sure. Are you from Atlanta, Anthony?
I'm a Grady baby, born and raised.
Oh, okay. We twins. No, like, Fulton Industrial, Cleveland Avenue, those areas. I was there. I remember being there like young, really young, 11, 12 years old, first time being out there, so I got caught up into that lifestyle, and it actually had became a habit for me, like a habit. I felt like there was nothing else that I could do. Uh, if I had to run away, the only way I could survive was by getting with a pimp that could take care of me. So at one time, actually, I ended up in a few different states.
So all this between the ages of 9 and 12, like my so my thought is like I even though I've sat on CSEC task force and things like that, I still don't understand like as a grown man, like what do you see in a child, and like what do grown people literally pick up children? Like I want you to explain it if you don't mind, so that the adults that are listening can know, as well as when young people come back and listen to this, or if this is used as a teaching method, that they can say that it won't happen to them. So that's why I'm
Well,
asking.
young children are easiest to manipulate, especially a runaway child who has nowhere to sleep, no food, sometimes no clothing. And so sometimes all they need to do is dangle a steak and some mashed potatoes, an Applebee's meal in front of them and say, here, and this is just the honest truth. Some of these kids are running away and they're lowering their self-value and really doing anything for anything. And so these predators, they're looking for children who are vulnerable. Some of them know darn well that it's a child that they're engaging with. And sometimes, Anthony, truth be told, some of these children are lying about their ages. And now, um, I was that child at one point. I lied about my age. And when the guy found out how old I was, this is for the kids that come back and watch this video. When the guy found out how old I was, him and his friend was beating me up, and they were about to throw me inside a trash can because they didn't want anybody to find out that they had been messing with a little child. So this is for any child that comes back and watch. You shouldn't play like that with your life, because it's a very sick and cruel world out here, and there's some people who do not care at all.
Wow.
How are you able to get liberated, get out of that situation?
It took some time because it's almost like a lifestyle. Like when you feel like there's no other option, and that's the only means of survival. It really took a lot. What it was my children. Seeing my children and my oldest get older and older and time go by, I realized like I have to do better. Like this isn't something. I had two daughters. I had both my daughters first. Mind you, Anthony, I had three kids before I was 18, but I had both my daughters first, and it hit me that I didn't want my girls to go through that, and I wanted so much better for my children. So like I had to really create a strong mindset. Like it's either that or them.
Yeah.
And
So you
so,
came at a crossroads.
Okay.
yeah, so I see a comment saying that how can we encourage other aged out teens to get help to get out of that lifestyle? Like how can I, as a advocate or a social worker or a foster parent or what have you, if a young person is already into that life, what can what can we do to kind of make sure say, hey, you don't have to do this. Like what can we do?
So the person that you are wanting to help, they have to want help. Like the child has to want you to help them. If not, they're going to still be caught up in the same repetitive cycle. That was a tongue twister. So for me, when I got sick and tired, there are a lot of organizations who are trained to come get you out of that, pick you up at the hotel, pick you up on the HO stroll, wherever you are. They will come pick you up and take you to a safe house, because sometimes those children are in dangerous situations where they can't get away from their predator or things like that. And sometimes they can't come to you and tell you that this is what's going on, because they feel like either one, you're going to condemn them, or two, you're not going to believe them, or three, you're just going to dismiss them and give up on them. So I would say too, have them talk to someone who is like a trained professional in this area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we can be. I don't think we're trained enough. I went through it myself, and I don't think I'm trained enough.
And so for those young people, what is a male a good person to approach them? Is a female, like who should approach a young person?
Who should
I know,
approach you?
yeah, I know you said a professional, but is it better to have a female approach, or is it better to have a male approach? Like how, for you, like what would have helped you?
Honestly, I wasn't listening to women. I felt like all women were mean to me. They didn't like me. And if I did get close to a woman, it took some, like, she really had to really dig in there and get close to me. So surprisingly, it was like two of my foster parents who were able to do that. But honestly, I listened better to a male. And that's just the honest truth. I listened better to a male because I didn't have a father figure in my life. I didn't have a father figure in my life. So to hear a man without any sexually advances towards you or interest in you, who's telling you, hey, that's not the right road to go down on. There's a man that will actually love you and care for you and cherish you. You don't have to do that. You don't have to degrade yourself. You don't have to devalue yourself. And honestly, I received it better.
And so one of the things that I've heard from young people that have been trafficked, or that it was going through those situations, is that sometimes the cops exacerbate it because they're seen as a perpetrator instead of as a victim. Is that was that true in your case?
Yeah, a lot. Because I think people, like, after the first time, it was like, okay, it's a mistake. The second time, it's like, girl, how many times you gonna do this? The third time, it's like, okay, well, she's just running away. So when I did actually have situations that were dangerous, and I was in a dangerous situation, it was like the girl that cried wolf. You know, like, oh, this time you really need some help.
I don't get that. If they say that it be help, regardless of how many times they said it before, they still need that help, and it's your job technically.
It was a repetitive cycle for me, so it was like I kind of feel like they got tired of me.
Yeah.
I don't get that concept. Like it's I hear it and I understand it, but I don't get that concept of getting tired of somebody getting frustrated. Yes, because it's a repetitive thing, but your job is to make sure that these kids get the love and support that they need, or what have you. I get frustrated at kids frequently or whatever, but it won't stop me from doing my job for them. One of the questions that was up here that I skipped over because we was having that conversation is, if a child wants to do boxing, martial arts as an outlet, and the parents have limited financial resources to provide these trainings, sports, music lessons, how do they get that? And I know for certain things, I know DFAS will reimburse if they're part of our leads program. Then for the MAC leads program, which we take care of DeKalb and Fulton young people, we help to provide a lot of extracurricular incentives. And I know AmeriGroup, they provide, y'all provide incentives for young people to be able to do extracurriculars and get healthy and things like that. Correct, Joseph?
That is correct. We do offer during the school year Boys and Girls Club memberships. We do offer Boy and Girl Scout memberships as well. Um, and yeah, it never hurts to reach out to our member intake line and ask those questions. You know, never hurts to get an answer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And if you could put that, if you could type that in the chat so that they can have that, that would be great. That
Sure.
member.
I'll type our member intake line in the chat.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So Ori, so were I assume if I'm getting the timeline correct that you went to the place in the sticks, the lockdown facility in the sticks, and then you was able to get out after how long were you there?
A year and a half.
And so that got you, that I guess it sounds like that didn't get you fully off the street. So did you go back to, like, after you left, did you revert
I was
back to?
still committed to the state. So they sent me to another foster home. I mean, not foster home, another group home. So I was actually in a group home in Clayton County. And from there, it was just, it's a lot of drama in group homes when it's 6 girls to a house. And, it was a lot of drama. So for me, I couldn't take it and I ran away. And I ended up back on the streets.
And was it with the same pimp that you went back to?
Oh, actually, this time I didn't go back to him. I just was on the streets. And can I say something? And I
Mhm.
probably should not say this, Anthony,
Go
but
ahead. So,
I'm gonna say it anyway. The
go ahead.
nicest people to me were the drug dealers, and they never were sexually interested in me. For some reason, I think they knew I was a runaway child, but they always helped me. Like, they always helped me. And so I ran away and I would sleep on the drug dealer's grandmother's couch. And like, I was trying to,
That's good. That's because grandma don't play. Like, she gonna make sure that you eat
I
and
don't
everything.
even think grandma came out the room that much. I think grandma was in her 90s.
Oh.
And so, but I ended up meeting a guy and I ended up pregnant at 14. So I got pregnant. And when I found out I was pregnant, I turned myself back in.
So, uh, so, all right. So you found out you was pregnant, and I guess this you must have been 13, 14.
I was, 14. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, man, so you kind of skipped a whole lot of being a kid, especially being trafficked and doing all, and then now you have a baby. So what does that feel like? Because I know some of the comments that I get from some of our young people is that if I have a baby, that's gonna change my life for the better. That's gonna make him or her stay with me. Uh, all of the above. What I don't know. What is that like? Is that the truth or what have you?
First of all, I wish a baby does not make anyone stay. Okay. um, So I was pregnant and I found out that the guy who I had been sleeping with had a whole girlfriend, like a high school sweetheart. So, and I'm having his first child. And yeah, so he had a baby on her and I'm pregnant with my baby. And so my life completely changed. Like, they sent me to, well, at first I was in a maternity home. I went to a maternity home for teen parents. And from there, you know, I went into labor, and they sent me to a teen parent home in LaGrange, Georgia. So I was in a teen parent home, and